we live? This Facebook app is starting to drive me a little bit crazy. So here we go. All right. I don't know how many of you do Facebook Live videos. It's not always apparent as to when you've stopped and when you started. So so good evening. Um, so this week, we want to take a little bit of time here and do our weekly thing here. So this week's topics are we're going to talk about the update of the Hillview Manor video, where we are with that, and a little bit of an overview since we finished all the evidence. Some of the things I took away from watching all of it, from looking at it, and some of the issues that I want to get better next time. Tell a couple of funny stories, some behind the scenes stuff that doesn't make the video, but is kind of is funny at the time, and makes me look bad, so everybody loves that. and uh, and then finally, I want to talk about why I really don't like the month of October. So those are the things we'll talk about tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you always for joining us. I don't like to be that page that does this, but you can also follow us on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter as well if you have those things. We're not just on Facebook, even though it's my preferred social media medium. We are other places. So as it pertains to the Hillview Manor review video, it is complete. It is complete. As per the terms of the licensing agreement that we signed with Hillview Manor to be allowed to share a video, I submitted the video to them today for approval. It's not so much approval, I guess. They get final cut. It's part of the licensing agreement that we signed with them. It has to do with us not misrepresenting them, calling it, an insane asylum or something, or any other patently false thing. It's also about not calling the third floor the second floor. They want to make sure everything's accurate, and it's part of the agreement that we signed. I did have the ability to put the video out and then send it to them, but it's infinitely easier for me to change things before, I'm sorry, that it's been published than after. So that's why that was done that way. So what are my takeaways because when we write the script and I put the video together, you learn a lot about what you found, because it's all right there. It's all in one file, one video editor file, and it's always the same. I always go in thinking, man, we didn't catch as much as I thought we did. Then I put it all in the editor, and whoa, we caught a lot. And that's kind of what happened here. Couple thoughts. I'm hoping that we'll be able to publish that video really soon. Couple of takeaways. I apologize in advance for you having to look at my bare back. But I did get scratched, and the only way to show it would be to show portion of my lower back that got scratched. I apologize in advance for you having to see my back. That is one of the things that I took away from. A lot of folks had asked us how the family communication went. We didn't make any what I feel to be communication with any members of our family. We did catch some things as we were doing it. And I'm glad we did, because I will tell you, that whole room changed when I started addressing the family and started naming off relatives and things like that. And I think a lot of that had to be, we're in a place where a lot of people passed away, and a lot of lonely people passed away. So mentioning family was probably like almost a trigger object for these folks. So we caught some stuff while we were in the cafeteria room, and actually, it's interesting. One of the things we caught while I was addressing the family directly it was kind of creepy. It ended up being an underrated, creepy piece of evidence that I ended up putting in. It happened later in the night, so it's later in the video. We do chronological now on the investigations, but we caught some really chilling stuff. We had 3 major events that happened while we were there, and you're lucky if you get one when you do an investigation. So we caught 3. One of them we didn't really catch because the camera wasn't aimed up right. We heard it. It happened close to the camera because it was set back. You know what? As an investigator, you can kick yourself all day for that. There is no way in the world I would have put a camera facing there. And you sometimes wish you'd put cameras in different places. There were a couple cameras where we caught absolutely nothing. But you know what? It is what it is. You don't know. You can't set your watch to paranormal activity. But from where we put these cameras, we did catch a lot. And there's a lot of residual energy there. Meaning it's not, we got intelligent responses, but residual energy just kind of happens. It's playing like on a tape over and over and over again. A lot of footsteps, a lot of bangs, ton of light anomalies. and even some EVPs that were very residual. Like there were some that didn't make the video. A lot of "Let me go home," "Can I go home?" Sad stuff. But you can tell it's just energy that's repeating itself over and over again. And as we watch it back, we always think the same thing. Why weren't we more scared when this happened? It's interesting. I was never really scared there. You're aware of what's around you, but I tend to like when it comes to actual fear. And by the way, it's okay to be afraid when you do what we do. And I was never afraid there. It's odd. I think because it's so wide open, I tend to be more uncomfortable in tighter spaces. Like I feel more apprehensive in the attic of Grapevine Farms than I did in all of Hillview Manor, and I think it has to do with the confined space and the tight space. You know, when you have to share a telephone booth with a spirit, it's a little more disconcerting than you have to share a football field with them. I think that's a lot of what happened. The other takeaway from the evidence is that our batteries for our infrared lights do not last as long as our batteries do for the cameras. We ended up looking at a lot of dark hallways by the end of the night, and that's lesson learned. But we got, I mean, the cameras worked well. We got a lot from it, but we lost probably about 2 hours on each camera just staring into a dark hallway, because even our full spectrum infrared and ultraviolet cameras, they can't see in pitch black darkness. They need the UV light that lights up every piece of footage you've ever seen from us. But if that's the worst thing I can say, other a couple of misplaced cameras and a couple IR lights that went dead, we had a pretty good night, pretty good investigation. So watch out for that video. Depending on when Hillview gives me the corrections or the sign off, I will, I'm hoping to premiere it by this time next week. So next week when we're sitting here, we can be talking about it. But stay tuned for that. We'll announce the premiere on the page like we always do within 24 to 36 hours before it's going to premiere, and we can't wait to show this to you guys. So we're looking forward to it. So there were a couple of things that happened during that investigation that were humorous, funny stuff that didn't make the video, but this whole experience of Facebook Live and vlogging and stuff, this is to give you sort of a behind the scenes. So there were two things that really stuck out as I was reviewing the evidence. And the first one is funny because I can be a little bit of a jerk when we investigate. And it's not because I am one. It's just because, we're executing. I spend weeks coming up with this plan. I execute the plan. I do all of these things. And when things are happening in the moment, I don't mean to be jerky, but I sound very matter of fact. Ask Emily. She's been dealing with this for 15 years. I can come off that way, and it's just, it can be funny after the fact. And so we had Linda and Al with us, and in the video, I refer to them as family members. Linda's my mother, and Al's my stepfather, and they, as part of Emily and I both turning 40 this year, they provided a lot of, most of the financial backing as a gift to us for this investigation to happen. Talk about a great gift. And they joined us for this investigation, but they're not seasoned investigators. They don't do this a lot. My mom went to Grapevine Farms with us the last time because I wanted her to get her feet wet. So there was a time when we were in a room. There's two rooms across from each other, Anna and Mary Virginia, and they're both very active rooms. And Emily is in Anna's room, and what we're doing is being quiet in Anna's room so that Mom and Al can do their EVP session with Mary Virginia. They don't have a recorder, and Emily points out to me that they don't have a recorder. So I walked in and I said, very matter of factly, and I wasn't meaning to be a jerk, but I sounded it on the video camera. Why don't you have a recorder? To which they said, "Oh no, we're just in here to chat with her." And my response was, "I'm not here to chat. I need to record this or it didn't happen." And I put my recorder on the bed, turned it on, and looked at them and said, "Now, chat to your heart's delight." And the funniest part of that is that for the next minute and a half on the recorder is Emily in the other room laughing at me telling them that I'm not here to chat. And she's probably said, "Are you here to chat?" to me at least 20 times in the last 2 weeks. It's become kind of a running gag with us, but that was a funny story, and thankfully they didn't hold it against me, for sounding a little bit like a jerk. But it was, in the moment, it was just funny, and funny enough that I was annoyed by it. But it was funny, and they got some good stuff out of it. But no, we're not here to chat. We got to record it. The other funny story that happened at Hillview is kind of a continuation of something that's been happening. I have been trying to learn how to navigate in the pitch black using just the screen on my camera and not using the flashlights as much. As a result, I've been running into everything. I've been running into everything. In the chapel, I nearly fell down this little like 3 flights of stairs about 4 times because I was going up, going down, going up, going down. I ran into walls. I ran into windows. I ran into a toilet in one of the rooms. So yeah, I'm getting better, but at least at Hillview there was a lot of room. I tried this at Grapevine last month and realized about halfway through that I needed to stop because I was going to break half their stock and end up having to buy half the store just because I didn't want to use a flashlight. So in our evidence for Hillview, you just hear constantly me just running into things. And it's funny. It's funnier because it's me. I find that funny, especially when I'm going to tell people I'm not here to chat. If I'm going to run into a wall, it becomes even funnier when I'm doing something like that. But those are just some of the funny stories from Hillview. We have a lot of those. If you've ever done an event with us, or if you've ever been with us in any of the ghost hunts or dinners, or heck, if you ever even tuned in on this Facebook Live stuff that we do on this channel, we don't take ourselves too seriously. I think that's easy to tell. And look, social media and the world is replete with paranormal investigators who take themselves way too seriously. And we are not them. We have fun. We acknowledge when things happen that are funny, and we like to share some of those stories, which is why I wanted to share those two in particular with you, because if you've ever done a ghost hunt event or anything and you had something funny happen to you, please share it in the comment section, because we like these stories, and they humanize it. They humanize what we do. We're imperfect people doing something, so we're gonna have little instances where we forget a recorder or we run into a wall repeatedly, and it happens. So just a couple of the funny stories from Hillview that I wanted to share. The final thing, and I see a comment from Tina Breslow on here and saying batteries, and boy, is that absolutely true. But she's not going to like this part, because Tina is the kind of person who posts back in April how many days it is to Halloween. And I really don't like the month of October. And everybody finds that kind of strange, because you would think, being into the paranormal, man, October's my month. You think I'd be all about it, Halloween and ghosts and horror movies and all these things. And I do not like the month of October. And there's one, it actually extends into this time of year. There's one main reason. You can't investigate anywhere. It is such a pain to do what we do this time of year, because in October everyone's a ghost hunter, and in October every haunted venue that we want to go investigate for the first time, they're all just doing event after event after event, which I don't blame them. 'Tis the season to make some money on it. I don't blame them at all. There are some locations even near us that it's a cash cow 365 for them. But that's really what it is. So we end up with a bare calendar from the middle of September through the end of October every year. Because anytime we reach out to someplace new, they're always saying, well, can you come in November? And that's why I don't like the month of October. Halloween's fine. I don't really care. We'll talk about closer to Halloween. I don't like a lot of horror movies, but there are some I do. We'll make that a subject for another night. But thank God for some of the places that we have developed relationships with the owners, because at least there we can go and we can try to, I guess, be part of the problem and host an event and do some things and investigate in some of the places. That being said, we're in the process of planning an event with Grapevine Farms for October. Not a ghost hunt event, but like a dinner and a paranormal discussion. And what we're talking about doing is doing something like real ghost stories, where Emily and I will tell some of the scariest stories that have happened to us and share some of our scariest evidence, both from Grapevine and from other places. And I will tell you that at least 2 of the things that happened at Hillview Manor will be in that, in terms of startling and amazing evidence of the paranormal. And that's, what I'm hoping the next step here is. I'm hoping to hear back from that video very soon, that I'm able to share it with you and get your thoughts on it, because a lot of really interesting stuff happened there. we captured a couple of things that easily fall into the top 5 of things we've ever captured on camera. And as usual, I explain a lot. The one thing that we captured toward the end of the night is the creepiest thing we have ever captured. But I spend about 3 or 4 minutes explaining to you how we tried to debunk it and why we couldn't debunk it. And the reason we do that is because that's how we roll. That is how we do this. I'm not going to post something as paranormal unless I can show you what thought process that we went through to arrive at that conclusion. And in the end, most of the time, if you're familiar with our videos, we tend to label things more as unexplained than paranormal. But so we're looking forward to it. I'm hoping to hear back from them. I'm hoping this time next week we can talk about the video and reactions to the video. And from there, we'll go from there, and we're planning the next things, and the next things are not easy, as I said, hence me not liking October very much, because Emily's having a heck of a time booking something new. And so there you go. So guys, I appreciate it as always. Thank you for tuning in. Watch out for that premiere announcement. We'll make it as soon as we possibly can. And I hope every one of you has a great night, and thank you so much for tuning in. Take care.